I'll come to this. We have reduced pricing 38 times in the last 7.5 years across various services. In our history, we have never increased pricing even once. Simply the volume given, we have customers across the breadth that we have, we will continue to decrease pricing. It's a given, it will never increase. Talking about the gaming industry trends, and this is based on the gaming industry and the customers based on us and some of the reports, not necessarily might be valid as of today, but then they keep changing obviously in terms of ranking, etc. But some of the trends we keep seeing and which helps us kind of engage with customers better are a couple of trends here. Right? The top 3 gaming apps that we feel are listed wherever they are, right, are not necessarily the top most grossing, top kind of revenue generating or monetized apps, right, which is kind of interesting. So just because the app is popular in the stream doesn't mean that it's the highest kind of in the profit making business or in money making business. Same the other way around as well. If you actually see Clash of Clans, it was at some point last year number I think 71 in kind of the popularity app, but in terms of monetization, which actually becomes very true for most of you gaming developers, it kind of was pretty high about that, right? So that kind of was an interesting stat for us. Another thing that we finally found out was, apart from just infrastructure on the cloud, big data that everyone kind of keeps calling, it's kind of the second most abused term after cloud computing in the recent 2 years or so. Analytics, if you do it right, becomes extremely important as well, because these trends kind of basing your game, kind of analyzing and doing analytics specifically on a gaming category or a user group or a genre, on specific genre, kind of gives you useful insights in terms of knowing what your mass market is, what your sentiment analysis and building recommendation engines based on what your users are seeing, what they're playing, and what the stickiness is. Right? I mean, graphs like this, for example, the right-hand side is, I think the projection is kind of skewed on color, it was 2 colors, but basically the right-hand side of the screen was females and the left-hand side males, and the y-axis was the average age. And we found out that the more older females get, those are typically used to kind of playing more complex and intelligent games versus the male customers who are younger, playing let's say more hands-on, multiplayer, RPG or casino kind of games. And not only is this important, another statistic could be kind of seeing what is the frequency of these people playing those games in a week to kind of monetize your app. For example, kind of making a user click on a video link or an ad app in return for some coins that you might give or scores you might give as a part of the game, right, to monetize it. It's kind of easy to know once the users are in, but it's difficult to know which are the users that are sticking, how many sessions they play in a week, what kind of games they play and why. And lastly, diversification of games is very important in terms of the gaming categories. And these are analytics that a lot of our customers tell us they run on the cloud because of specific advantages that I'll talk in a minute. And because of those, that kind of helps them drive their business and kind of become more popular among their current customers as well as other customers going forward. The last part is basically scaling out. Right? We talked about scaling infrastructure, but not only in terms of just saving costs, but then just scaling worldwide without really changing your architecture too often as your end traffic increases. And doing big data structure or unstructured analytics on the cloud to ensure that you have the right data to kind of scale out and kind of know what your end user is asking. Everything as a service is something I spoke about just about 5 minutes ago, where we're talking about giving you everything as a service. These are, again, just about 15 or 20 services that we have, almost half of our entire screenshot of services that we have today, and as you can see, we kind of tend to give everything as a service, and that's the kind of strategy we are going on. The idea is you kind of start to do Hadoop on the cloud, for example. A lot of customers come in that, it's not easy to get a lot of Hadoop developers in the market. You have to actually go through the learning curve to kind of learn it. And those are the things that we kind of tend to give you as a service so that your learning curve is kind of minimal. And the infrastructure of Hadoop and the HDFS file system and the analytics that you do is kind of a layer which is kind of managed by Amazon as well. And let's kind of look at a couple of them. Database services, we would all argue for gaming companies is extremely important, especially scalability. Right? I have tons of customers always telling us, what? To begin with is easy, after that it's hard, right? I mean, as your database increases, the traffic coming in increases, let's say you have to partition a database. You can actually do that easily, but repartitioning a database is hard. It's almost impossible. It's extremely difficult. And that's where you have to actually get into things like NoSQL and others to kind of manage that. Obviously, managing a NoSQL cluster is not rocket science, but it can be difficult once you scale up. So we have a specific service called as DynamoDB. SSD based, lots and lots of gaming customers worldwide using it. You can literally go to hundreds of thousands of connections concurrently per second, and it will actually handle it for you, including redundancy or otherwise. Right? So if you move from an RDMS to NoSQL infrastructure, this kind of there is service without you having to learn or manage those services. Same with RDMS as well. If you don't want your DBA to spend valuable cycles managing a database, the operational cycles, we have RDMS as a service for you, RDS. MySQL, MS SQL, and Oracle, engine we support you. Postgres was just released yesterday. Analytics, EMR, again I was talking about it, this is Hadoop as a service. We had about 6 million Hadoop clusters or EMR clusters spun up in 2012. And a lot of these were gaming as well as internet startup companies running those analytics based on the logs that they're getting to kind of drive their business as well. Extremely easy to get started. You can actually, with the click of a mouse, get a Hadoop cluster up and running, and you're up and running and play for you. Redshift is more of for structured data, if you will. So it's more SQL-like. We have some customers running petabyte scale warehouse, data warehousing on it, analyzing logs, terabytes and terabytes of logs. And the pricing is extremely cheap compared to the market pricing. You can literally start off with less than $1,000 per terabyte per year on this platform. And again, you can reserve capacity or you can run it. And lastly, spot instances. This is kind of one of the most interesting pieces available in the market today from us. I don't think there's any other vendor or any other platform providing this in the way that we provide. Basically, simply put, the concept of whatever free capacity that Amazon has, this data center, we actually put it up for bidding, just like a stock market. Right? And it's at 1/10 or 1/20 the cost of the actual price that we have. So let's say if you have an instance or a server which costs you 10 cents an hour, this will probably cost you 1 cent an hour because it's free capacity for us again. And if your bid price is equal or higher than the market price, then you actually get the instance for the next one. Extremely important for batch processing jobs where failure of an instance, etc., might not really affect you. Happy to speak offline about all of the architectural things as to how customers are saying how those customers are using this, including the NASAs of the world and Netflix. This is kind of one of the real-time reference customers that we have. I can name it. It's Animoto. How many of you have heard of Animoto? So Animoto is this cool site where you can actually upload your family pictures and then choose a music and some themes around it, and it'll actually create a fancy video for you. Once they launched their Facebook app, I think it was sometime in April of 2008 or 2009. I don't remember the exact year. They actually went from 50 servers running on Amazon, 50 servers running on Amazon, 5,000 servers in a matter of 72 hours, automatically, without any manual intervention, without planning. They didn't know this was going to happen. It just kind of scaled off automatically because the scaling was built in. And then once kind of it plateaued off, there were some instances which started shutting down because the utilization went down. And then again, the pay-as-you-go model, they actually were paying only for those 72 hours with this kind of 5,000. And there are other customers who build supercomputer-like equivalent, thousands of cores, supercomputing processor on this platform. Happy to share those later. I'll actually skip a couple of slides. So just talking, this is the last part. Just talking about architecture bit, this is how most gaming developers have scaled on us when they actually start off and start developing their application. They scale up with one server, which is an EC2 instance, and a MySQL database. This is typically dev test or just when you're about to go live. It is really small, no redundancy built in. You can actually even work this in your free tier and not pay for it. We have a free tier model as well. You get really small servers, and you can actually build your application completely on this. The next step would be to scale it out as your traffic, your site grows. And you can actually distribute this across the 2 data centers I was talking about that each of our region has. Without paying addition, you just spin up 2 small instances. And then you can have a master-slave database across it. The beauty of Amazon pricing is that running one server, let's say, which has 4 CPU cores for an hour, will cost you exactly the same as running 2 small servers with 2 cores each for the same hour. So you literally actually divide your cost to time ratio and run more number of smaller instances than fewer number of larger instances, or the other way around. The choice is completely yours. And you can actually control the cost.